I am 1 year into my eHarmony journey by this time. She is like 1 day into her eHarmony. So I'm a burned out eHarmony guy. I'm literally at the end of my, I had been subscribed.
Your subscription's about to end.
I'm like $60 a month, $200.
You put a lot of money into this.
It was a big investment to find.
Wake up and win. 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 Wake up.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to episode 1 of the Wake Up and Win podcast with Blaise and my wife, Christina. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
This is number 1, like just the first one. We're just getting this going. We're super excited about it. This has probably been on our mind to do something like this for a long time. And then here we are doing it. How do you feel about it?
I'm excited. Yeah. I feel like we've talked about it for a while, but just never felt like it was the right timing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're very excited about this. And let us develop as we go, because I think our goal, and we've talked about this a lot, but our goal is to really give everybody like an inside look into our life, into our marriage. I mean, we've got 3 kids, three little kids. How old are our kids now?
5, 3, and 1. Well, not 1 yet, but almost.
He'll be 1 like next week.
In a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. And we run a business. We run an insurance business. We've got like 50 plus agents. Christina helps me run that business. We've been doing that now for years. And then, we just kind of like, I guess what else do we do? We don't ever sleep. Christina nurses our babies for the last 5 years.
It's true. Yeah. We haven't slept through the night in 5 years. So that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're excited though, because we really want to encourage people. We want to encourage people in their marriage. We want to encourage people in their faith and their walk with God. We want to encourage people in their relationship with their kids and how to raise their kids. And we do all that stuff perfect. So, I mean, we can't wait to tell you all these amazing things that we do well. But really though, we're just excited to give an inside scoop into our world and what our life looks like as we're building a business and growing and doing our best to walk with the Lord and love each other. We're 8 years into marriage. We'll be 9 years in October, right?
That's right.
The big 9. That's the one where you go on the big trip, right? Or was that 10? I don't remember.
Every year.
But yeah, this first episode is just gonna be an intro to us, who we are, where we're from. A lot of people have followed us online you got a good following online, from your photography days, and then Asheville Folk, creating that business back in Asheville. I was preaching for years. I had a big following. And so I think we have different people that know us from different things, and then people that have followed us into the insurance business. But let's kick off by let's talk about who we are and how we met. Okay. And you go first. So tell us.
All right, we'll just dive right in. We met on eHarmony.
That's true.
On the internet.
We are an online sensation.
Where you find all good things. The internet.
Craigslist. Yeah.
No, but we did meet on
You did have a roommate from Craigslist one time, didn't you?
I've had multiple roommates from Craigslist.
That's freaky.
My roommates in Hawaii. Well, my first roommate in Hawaii was from Craigslist, and that didn't work out. And then I moved in with people from church. And then whenever I moved to Nashville, those girls were from Craigslist too. And that actually worked out.
They were actually
really,
very nice.
Really,
yeah. They were really very nice. I hope they're listening right now. Stephanie, right?
Yeah. I had success with Craigslist, actually.
Yeah.
And eHarmony.
And eHarmony. I mean, clearly. One weekend.
Yes, I was on eHarmony for 1 week. Blaise was my second date.
You landed the tallest, most darkest, most good-looking, handsome man on eHarmony.
And then less than 6 months later, we were married. So
that's true.
There you go.
That's true. Okay, so tell us your background first, and then so everybody that everybody saw me marry you years ago, and then they were like, "She looks awesome. She looks beautiful. She looks incredible." But who is she? Where does she come from? How did you get? You talk about Hawaii. Were you born in Hawaii? What?
Okay, so I was born in Greenville, South Carolina. So came all the way back here now, where we are now. But I've lived a lot of places along the way, and one of them is Hawaii, which is right before I met you. I think that's why we focus on that, and also it's like the best place to live, so it always comes up. Yeah. But yes, from Greenville, Oahu, South Carolina, right? On Oahu. Yeah, lived right in Honolulu and Waikiki.
No, I was just sneezing. I just said.
But
You're going to get a lot of dad jokes. You're going to get bad
Love
jokes,
those.
dad jokes. You're going to get it all. So just,
Love those.
yeah. All right. So Oahu. Yeah.
But I moved there and I was a wedding photographer shooting destination weddings in Hawaii for a few years. And then I met you in Nashville. So I moved to Nashville because.
But no, start back in Hawaii though, because you had your own photography business. How did you like start a photography business? Did you go to school for photography?
I went to school for graphic design and I took photography classes and I had a blog. Well, first, I had a Zanga to start.
Zanga.
And then eventually, I think did like a WordPress situation.
Did you delete your Zanga or you still have it?
It's probably out there. If everybody, I have no idea. I probably have a
You guys might
fake
see some
name.
awkward moments in this, like things that we discover about each other.
I might delete it right after this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's delete mine right now,
there.
actually. Oh my gosh, who is that?
But I was working at a church doing graphic design, and at the same time, I had like a blog where it was literally just pictures of like my coffee or my friends or us going to like shows, things like that. It wasn't anything.
What kind of shows?
Super,
like emo shows?
Like emo shows.
I gotta give you, I'm talking to our producer Armando right now, but I've got to give you a picture of her when she was like 19. She had like the, what did you have? Like the dark eyeliner.
Yeah. And
she wasn't like full goth by any means.
I would never say I was
cool.
goth. I was just very emo.
Yeah, just cool. Right? Just very cool.
I mean, looking at it now, it doesn't look that cool. But at the time, it was very cool. But yeah.
It's like 2006, like Under Oath time, basically.
Under Oath days, yeah. Even though I was never really into Screamo fully. But,
I was totally into Screamo. Yeah.
But I was more into the emo scene.
Yeah.
So
you're still emo. in a good way. In a good way.
Some might say.
Listen, the first time I ever rode with you and your parents after we met, we're in the car. So she comes from a family of 6 kids and four girls.
4 girls, 2 boys. Yeah.
And your mom. So it's 5 women in this family, right?
Sure, yeah.
We're in the car and I remember something happened. And all of a sudden, every woman in the car is crying. Your mom's crying. You're crying. Alicia's crying. And your dad, and it's because your dad did something. And me and your dad just kind of like, and I'm watching, I'm like, this is my future. All right, go back to your emo days. So you were going to shows, and then you were working as a graphic designer, and then you started picking up the camera.
Yes, and so it was just taking photos of life, and I had a blog, and I would like write about it.
Yeah.
So then somebody reached out to me and was like, "Will you shoot my wedding?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "What? You want me to shoot your wedding? Are you sure? That doesn't sound like a good idea." Like I would have no idea what I'm doing, but I said yes because she was going to pay me $250.
Let's go.
So
Too much money to fit in the couch.
Which at that time for me, who had never shot a wedding, thought that was an incredible deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, I will shoot your wedding for $250. And I did an excellent job. She definitely got more than her money's worth.
And then you found out what it takes to edit a wedding.
Yes, exactly. And then I put that on my blog, and then I had more people, like I would put it all over and had more people reaching out to me. So I started a photography business kind of by accident-ish. I mean, I wanted to do that, but it really just happened from posting that one wedding.
Yeah.
And then having more people reach out while I was working full-time at the church doing graphic design. And then kind of, it's one of those things where you're doing something you love, but then you find something you like more. And so I really was enjoying doing photography a lot and wanted to make that my full-time gig. So I was able to do that. Then my brother was living in Hawaii at the time. I went and visited him, wanted to move there, saw the wedding industry there is incredible because people get married there every single day of the week. There's no wedding season. So anyways, I moved there and then was able to.
You were going to get a job doing like just serving tables, and then you got a wedding and got a huge deposit from that wedding, right?
Yeah, that's true. So whenever I moved there
So
originally, I was like, yeah. Whenever I moved there, I was like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes to live here. I don't care. I'll wait tables. I used to wait tables. I actually enjoy waiting tables. So I was down for anything. If I could live in Hawaii, I was like, I'll do it. So it's kind of funny because I was like able to just do photography, which was my dream. But then once I was in Hawaii, I was like, no, I just want to be here. I don't even care. I'll wait tables. I want to like live here. So I applied for like some serving jobs, got a job at the Cheesecake Factory. And then I also was putting things all over Craigslist about my photography and was responding to anybody who was looking for a wedding photographer in Hawaii at all, no matter how much they would pay. I was down for it. And so I actually got a gig shooting a wedding. The day before I was supposed to start my orientation at the Cheesecake Factory, I got a big deposit for my first wedding. And I was like,
$300?
No, this was for, by
deposit.
This time I had figured out
like
how much people charge.
Basically.
Yeah, it was way more than I would make in a month probably at the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. So I was like, okay, because I was going to be a hostess, not
getting tips. Yeah.
So anyways, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to call the Cheesecake Factory. Not going to make it in today. Just got a big check. So not going to happen. And I was like, all right, let's roll.
Can I still get that discount though?
So yeah.
Because I was an employee for a day.
So whenever I moved to Hawaii, I ended up doing photography full-time right off the bat.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy to think about. It's very crazy.
And then you got to hook up with that agency, right?
Yes. There was a really cool place called the Wedding Cafe. That is kind of like marketing for different wedding vendors.
Yeah.
But it's like a subscription-based membership program that people pay to be a part of. And then they have an actual storefront. So people walk in and they can look at different, like all the different wedding vendors, look through like their books, their portfolio, all this stuff, and then get their information and then book from there. So I found that place and I was like, oh, I want to be a part of this. It
costs a lot to be a part of it.
Well, I had no idea like how the world worked at that time. And I was like, oh, I'm sure they'll want me to be a part of this too. Yeah. So I'll just put my business card in here. Let me call. So I set up a meeting with the owner. And whenever I met with her, she was telling me how it works. And I was like literally about like shrinking in my seat. I was so embarrassed because I was like, oh, she wants me to pay for this. And I was like, I do not have money. Like I just got my one deposit that's going to make me survive from that. So she gave me her spiel and I was just like, I am so sorry to waste your time, but I actually don't have any money. I definitely see the value in this and I would love to be a part of it eventually, but I just moved here. I have one paycheck so far, one deposit. And it was like a lot of money, like thousands of dollars to be a part of it. Yeah. And I was just like, maybe after I book a few weddings, get my, like, maybe I can do it eventually. And she was so nice to me. And she was like, okay, yeah. And so I went home and I was like pretty bummed and pretty embarrassed that I didn't like realize that's what was happening. But it's like a great business they have. It's amazing. Yeah. So as I went home, and then like 2 days later, she messaged me and she was like, hey, I really love your work. I've been looking at your stuff. I really want to work with you. Wow. And we worked out a deal, like a trade, which was amazing for me. It was like, it was incredible because I was able to be a part of like this prestigious wedding industry vendors. And also I was able to work with her because that was the trade. I would do photography for her and I would get to market myself at the Wedding Cafe. So I would shoot they also had a boutique. I would shoot their clothing and stuff. I would shoot promo we would do these like a styled shoot basically for weddings. Yep. And I would shoot them. So it was great for my portfolio. It was great for getting my name out in Hawaii. I even got like free clothes from the boutique and stuff. But the biggest thing was I got to be part of the Wedding Cafe, which launched my business like crazy. Yeah. Right away. So that was a miracle.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's what I was going to ask you? Do you feel like that was like a God connection there?
100%. Yeah. I don't know if I would have been able to stay if that hadn't happened. I don't know. Yeah. Or it would have been a lot different, but it really connected me with all the top vendors in Hawaii.
Something that I've noticed about you for the 8.5, 9 years that we've been married is that like whenever you get kind of focused on something, on a goal, you get very like, it's like tunnel vision and you're not afraid to like put yourself out there and just try stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not afraid to just go for it if you think you can accomplish it. So like even I'm going to go to Hawaii, and then you go.
I'll figure it out when I get
Yeah,
there.
I'll figure it out. And then you land a gig, you get paid, and then you're like, well, this is cool. I'm going to go be a part of this. They'll want me to be a part of this. You go,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, sorry, it's not like I can't quite pay that. But you made the connection, and you also were putting your stuff out online.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing is like, not afraid to like, and hopefully too in this podcast for everybody, like one of the goals that we have is because we do business together now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'll get into my story in a little bit, but like we're always, since we've been married, we've always come up with some kind of business or some kind of thing, but things don't always just fall in your lap. You actually do have to put yourself out there, but whenever you put yourself out there, God can connect you to the right things and open doors for you and expand, you know? And so anyway, I just think it's really cool that you just threw yourself out there, and then all of a sudden you were like, you became, okay. So then so then you're like doing these wedding photography events, whatever, you know, weddings, basically making great money out there. And then, you came to a close in that season after like 2 years, like, okay, I want to be back on the mainland. You didn't want to marry a Samoan. You didn't want to marry a surfer bum. And so you were like, I better go back and find my guy in Nashville. But yeah, talk about like moving to
Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was still shooting weddings. Everything was great. Like I still like love that season of my life. Love Hawaii. It was amazing. So, but it was also, look, my family's in South Carolina. It's like an entire day of travel and $1,000, over $1,000 for a flight. So I was very far from my family. And I was also like, it's funny because I was 26 when I moved back to Nashville, but at the time I felt so old because I just wanted to like have a family and I didn't see myself finding somebody or getting married and settling in Hawaii forever.
Yeah.
It was like a fun season, but I didn't see it being my forever home. So I was like, okay, I'm going to like move back to the mainland and like hopefully meet somebody, like plant some roots there, get my photography business going there because it's a totally different world, you know? And start like that season of my life. I was just ready. So I was like, okay. And I even had weddings booked for the following year, but I was like, I'm going to move and then I'll just fly back for the weddings, you know? And so I actually was still booking weddings in Hawaii, but I was just incorporating my, like travel fees and stuff.
Yeah.
So that I could still go. So I moved to Nashville because I didn't want to go all the way back home to Greenville, to South Carolina. And my sister lived in Nashville. So I was like, I'm going to go live there and see what happens.
And get on eHarmony.
Yeah.
Why'd you get on eHarmony?
Well, because I actually didn't know anyone in Nashville besides my sister who had a husband and new baby, my nephew. So
and her husband was already taken. So, yeah.
And all of her friends were married too with kids. So I'm like, okay, this is who I'm hanging out with. I'm like, not going to meet anybody this way. They don't have any single friends. And so, yeah, it was definitely not, I wasn't excited about getting on eHarmony. That is not the way I wanted like things to go down. But I was also like, okay, I'm literally never going to meet
2013.
anybody. I work from home. I'm like sitting up in my like apartment or in the house with these girls who were all also single. So if they had a single friend, you know, they weren't sharing. So it was like, I had to like figure this out on my own. And like, yeah, I was working from home too. So
in your pajamas.
In my pajamas. I mean, even if I went to a coffee shop, I'm still like,
and then watching The Bachelorette at night with all these girls.
The
I remember.
But so I wasn't really meeting people in that way. And I went to church with my friends and like, but it wasn't really like, people were they were too intimidated to come up to me and say hi.
Exactly. They were like, she is such a cool hipster. I cannot go talk to her. This is Nashville 2014, by the way.
2014, yeah.
2014.
So anyways, one day
they all had like the rim hats and skinny jeans and
it's true.
Cool boots.
Cool.
And denim jackets. Everything that I try to be now is what they were at that time. And and you didn't find your guy yet, so you got on eHarmony, and then
got on eHarmony. I finally, decided I was gonna sign up for it. Got on. I think it was March.
What was your first date?
Okay, so
what was his name?
Let me say his first and last name. If you guys want to look him up on Facebook and see what you think. Okay, I will tell you. I feel like this is a lot about me. We need to talk about you too.
I know, but I'm just like I just am. I like this story. It's fun.
Okay, I signed up for eHarmony and I got. I had a date that first week, and this guy on his pictures, he looked like he was like Ryan Gosling or something, and he was literally wearing a suit in his pictures. And I was
like, pink one from
Barbie. No. He looked very nice, and he was. I've
never heard you say that before. He looked very nice.
I did tell you that because I was like
very nice. Like I heard you say he looked sharp, but like not like very nice. Like so that's.
And he was a youth pastor. Okay. So I was like, he's a good guy, and we're probably gonna get along and mesh well. So, anyways, long story short, we like set up a time to meet. We're gonna meet at Starbucks, which is hilarious in Nashville, where there's all these cool coffee shops, and you want to meet at Starbucks. I'm like, okay, whatever. In the meantime, though, as I'm about to go on a date with him, you message me.
I message her. Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Wake Up and Win Insurance. We help clients all over the nation with their term life, whole life, or universal life insurance, and we're definitely happy to help you with a consultation.
And we're hiring all over the nation, full-time and part-time positions, work from home. Check the description below for more info.
I am 1 year into my eHarmony journey by this time. She is like 1 day into her eHarmony. So I'm a burned out eHarmony guy. I'm literally at the end of my, I had been subscribed.
Your subscription's about to end.
I'm like $60 a month, $200.
You put a lot of money into this.
It was a big investment to find you. So anyway, I'm like at the very end. I'm literally at the very end of my subscription. I'm like, I got 1 more month and I'm like, I'm not going to renew this subscription. Like I've been on probably like, I didn't go on a ton of dates, but probably like 70.
What?
No, probably like 5. I think I probably went on 5.
You really think you only went on 5 in a year?
6.
I think you went on more than that.
10. I don't know. 4. I don't think I went on any actually. I waited till I saw you.
First date?
Yeah. Now I don't know. I didn't go on that many, but I was traveling. I was traveling doing ministry in Kansas City. And then I did a event in Nashville and I connected with some really cool people. And I was like, we'll do another podcast on church hurt and why I left Kansas City. And that'll be a whole,
that'll be a good one.
But I ended up in Nashville, some cool people, and I was on eHarmony, but my settings were like nationwide. And so it would like, I would connect with all these people.
You were like anyone,
I was like,
anywhere.
Anybody. I was like, Dominican Republic, like that's USA too, right? Like anything. So anyway, it was like the very end of my subscription, literally the last week. And I was moving from Nashville. I'd been there for 9 months and I was about to move after a tour I was going to do. And then I messaged you. I like it connected me with somebody local in Nashville. And I was like, oh no, wait, she's pretty. I'm like, I'd love to talk to her. So I send you a message. And then you responded because then you had to like do these like questionnaires.
Yeah.
And so we had to do these questionnaires back and forth. And I'm like,
so
cool.
we matched.
And then suddenly I'm like talking to her now. It like opens up. And now you're talking to them. I'm like, hey, send the message. And then she's like gone. I'm like, what? Everything matched up. And now you're like gone. So then I find out later that she was.
Well, I had a date. I had a date with the youth pastor. And
she didn't want it 2 times.
I don't do that.
I'm over here like messaging her and some other girls messaging me. I'm like, hey.
I didn't know. I had never done, dated multiple people at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Bachelor, Bachelorette. You just like talk to all these people.
Well, I just didn't know.
I thought it was the funniest thing, but she ghosted completely. And I'm like, okay. And so it's like 2 days go by. And my subscription is literally about to end and be done. So I send one more message. I'm like, hey, like, would you want to hang out? Or I don't remember what I said. I think we saved the messages at one point.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look. We should have done that before this.
Yeah.
But basically, I did not want to talk to 2 people at the same time.
Which is very honorable. And that's why I married you.
So I
she doesn't even talk to any She hasn't talked to a male since she met me.
I went on a date with this guy and I thought it was going to go really well. I'll do the like quick version. We went to Starbucks. He was already sitting there with his coffee, didn't pay for mine, didn't like stand up or anything when I got there. I sat down and I'm a little bit embarrassed about being like on eHarmony, anyways. And he's a youth pastor. So he has like youth pastor voice. So he like very, very loudly in this tiny Starbucks where there's people all together. He's like, so how'd you end up on eHarmony? That was like his intro, his beginning. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, not to mention he was wearing basketball shorts and he looked like he was on Duck Dynasty. He did not look like his profile photo. I was like, is this the same person
That's
or
so
no? So I kind of knew right away.
It wasn't going to work out.
It wasn't going to happen.
So you came home and you're like, I wonder if that.
I was like, I guess I'll message that other guy.
I wonder if that other guy's still out there.
No, I honestly, whenever I was so nervous for that date and I was so like, oh my gosh, I gotta like get some new boots and like get my hair done.
You're getting ready.
And I was like, okay, that was such a waste of time. Nobody is as cool as they look on the internet. No one. And
that's a real statement right there.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I guess I'll message this other guy. Because I was like, definitely not gonna happen there. So I messaged you back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just now saw your message.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know how I missed this.
I've been really busy.
I don't know how I missed this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can hang out, whatever. And then
we went to Pinewood Social.
And I felt like way more relaxed. Honestly, it was probably good. I had that dud of a date because I felt super relaxed and I was like, okay, whatever, this guy is probably going to be weird.
This was my 76th date that week.
No, but for real, I had 2 dates that week and you were the second one and my last date.
Second and last. Yeah.
So we met up at Pinewood Social.
And that was a fun date. We hung out. And then we found out about each other that you were going to be doing a photography, like you were going to do like 5 weddings in Hawaii. This is how good of a photographer she was. They would literally book her from Nashville to Hawaii. So she was always flying back and forth. So like I definitely married up, and
well, I had booked the weddings already. So I was like, had to, go back for them. And it was like 5 in a row. So
but you were still getting booked. You would still get booked. Even after you got married, you got booked for a while. But yeah, so then we met and we hung out for like a week. And then when we were leaving, I remember you're like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. Because we like really hit it off. But I was supposed to move to Portland.
Yes.
For that ministry school. And then like I was moving literally in a month and a half.
So we met, we hung out for like 7 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like we were both leaving for a month. You were going on tour. I was going to Hawaii to shoot these weddings. And then we were both coming back in a month. And then you would only be back for a couple of days. Then you were moving to Portland.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, this is really awesome. I really like you.
But you're moving
really
to Portland.
Cool.
And we're going to have to like
but
do
like,
a long
yeah,
distance
what are we going to do? Like,
yeah.
And so I asked you that at the end of it because I was like, okay, so what are we gonna do at the end of the 7 days? It's like you know somebody for 7 days, you're not gonna like ask them to be like fully.
I didn't
committed to you,
yeah,
like
hey,
your boyfriend, girlfriend. You've known me for 7
right
days, and I'm about to move across the country. Want to be together?
You could have been crazy,
but not really.
Like, I just didn't know it.
Yeah,
I needed to. I needed to give it like a decade to figure out.
Still not sure.
Yeah, like a couple more years to figure out. But. Yeah, then we went on that trip and I FaceTimed you a few days later and then...
Yeah, that's whenever I knew because whenever we left after those 7 days and we were both apart for a month, I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll hear from this guy again. I don't know like how this is even going to work. And literally the next day you FaceTimed me.
Yeah.
And then we like talked forever and I was like, okay.
Yeah, 1 week into the tour of like preaching and stuff, I told my buddy I was on the tour with, I was like, dude, because he lived in Portland. I was like, I'm not going to Portland. I gotta stay and figure this out. He's like, really? It's like, yeah, I don't know, but I have to stay and find out. And like, then we were engaged like 2 months later.
Yep. And we got married like 3 months later.
Yeah, we got married in October. We met in April. We got married in October.
Yep.
And 3 babies in. Doing good. Figuring it out. 3 babies.
3 businesses.
3 businesses. First podcast episode. We'll see if we can make it to the 3rd. Yeah. So that's our story.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give as much of a background, and I know I kept asking you questions. You can keep asking me questions if I should give.
You should give more.
Okay. All right. Well,
tell us, where were you born?
So my parents were born. Actually, I come from a long line of. No. So So I grew up in Texas, and I ended up in Kansas City doing working in Kansas City at International House of Prayer. And I'd worked at multiple ministries by this time.
Yes, and Teen Mania.
Teen Mania with
that.
Ron Luce and all those guys down in Teen Mania. And
which I actually went to Teen Mania too, just for short-term missions.
I was on staff at Teen Mania in East Texas, working there because I worked there for 7 years. In 2004, when you graduated high school, or when did you graduate? 2006?
05.
05. So you came to a mission trip, and I was on campus. We were on the campus at the exact same time, 2005.
But we never met.
That's crazy. 8 years later, we were like, what's up? But yeah, so I was preaching and traveling, and then that whole scenario happened where I came to Nashville and ended up moving to Nashville.
Yeah, what were you doing in Nashville though? What?
Well, I was so this is definitely a God story because I was basically going to write a book, and I knew I had a book in me to write. And I'd never written a book before, but I knew I had a book in me to write. So I talked to this to a donor who actually had never donated to me ever. It was a connection that I had, and I knew I was supposed to ask this person for money. So to like fund the book. So I'm like, I was at International House of Prayer. I left, and I was like traveling and speaking.
So yeah, for somebody who may not know, like whenever you're at IHOP, you live off of the donations. It's so like a ministry.
Yeah, I lived like probably for like a decade. I lived just on donations, like through different times in my, from my like 18 years old to 30 years old. And that actually, honestly, that set me up for like being an entrepreneur too, because like God provides, whether it's through like somebody giving you a donation or somebody signing a contract, it's like God's providing no matter what, So, so I'm like living and doing travel trips and preaching and then I was in Texas and met with this person, and I just told them, I said, hey, I'm moving to Nashville, and I'm going to spend 6 months. I'm going to write a book. And I just wanted to go do a 6-month lease, stay there and write a book while I'm in Nashville. I didn't really necessarily know why Nashville. There was like a good community of people, but, and I need $10,000 to do it. And literally, so, and she, this awesome person, she actually passed away a few years back, but I went to church with her after that, and we're sitting there at the church, and during like the prayer time or something, she reaches over and hands me a $10,000 check.
That's crazy.
It was mind blowing, but it was like, I was so confident. I just knew that that's what was going to happen. And it happened. Cashed the check, moved to Nashville, and started writing my book. Had it done within 6 months, and then went on a speaking tour. And like, anyway, it's pretty mind blowing just how all that happened. But yeah, so like, got saved when I was 16, and started preaching immediately, pretty much, and was preaching at like youth groups and stuff like that. So I was always like preaching or doing some kind of ministry. So in Nashville, whenever we met, I was preaching and traveling at that time, and met you. And then we, this gets in a whole other conversation.
I know. I feel like we have like so many different.
Yeah, there's so many tangents we go on, which I think, but like theologically, I went through a really interesting season, and that's where I was going to move out to Portland and all that stuff, and like got into what some people call like the hyper grace movement, which, any theological strain, you're always going to find some truth in the strain, but then you're going to find overboard theology in it too. Sometimes that can throw people completely off track. And at the beginning of it, there was a lot of really solid stuff, but then it just became probably, I don't know, it's tough to say a percentage, but probably 75% of those people I was running with at that time aren't even like Christians anymore. Like, don't even it's like kind of went from this certain level of like grace to, kind of a like open, like universal, like Christocentric universalism, using quotes from church fathers to like prove it, which was so interesting. Christocentric universalism, like ultimate reconciliation, like everybody's going to end up in heaven because of what Jesus did. Then it went to, well, everybody's just going to end up in heaven. We don't even know if Jesus is real. And then to like, I have no idea what I believe. Let's just be crazy. And like, and I'm not saying that was everybody's path, and it wasn't my path. I actually never let go of Jesus, but like I've seen that path happen, and there's a lot of people that are just full on. And what's wild is even through the supernatural events of that season that helped me write that book, like I actually pulled that book off the shelf. And I guess
so like nobody can buy it. People can't
buy it unless they buy it from somebody else.
Why'd you pull it off the shelf?
Just because there's enough leaven in the book. Like there's some powerful stuff in the book. Powerful gospel stuff in the book, but there's enough, what does he say? Paul says a little bit of leaven ruins the whole lump of bread. So like, more modern version that Ron Luce used to say at youth groups was like, if you have chocolate cake with just a little bit of poop in it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I don't love that analogy.
I know, it's disgusting. I knew you would hate it.
So
but all the kids would be like,
I don't want to think about that.
You'd be like, yeah, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. They'd be like, nasty. If you're like telling kids or whatever. So anyway, now most of our audience is probably kids, right? I mean,
that's the demographic we're going
for. Anyway, so like, but a little bit of like can throw off the whole thing. And so that's what I found over the years is like, man, there's some powerful concepts that the Lord was speaking to me at that time in 2012, 13, and 14, and 15 that ended up getting twisted enough to where like literally I'd have people like
what? Yeah, like
read my book. They'd read my book, and then like some people read my book and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm passionate for Jesus again. I love Jesus. And then some people read my book and be like, oh man, I'm finally embracing myself. Like, I'm just going to be gay. I'm finally going to come out and be gay because like I know that God loves me as a gay person.
Wow. After reading your book.
After reading my book. I'm like, I didn't even say that in my book. I didn't say anything like that. But the way that things were presented and the idea of open, ultimate reconciliation, it like some would say, well, no, you understand, like if you go that route, you'll just know that God's really good and you'll end up living more for him. But like, yes, God is good. But like the kindness and the severity of the Lord is like what has to be seen. You have to like see it. Now I remember I'd hear people say this stuff back then. I'd be like, oh yeah, you got to balance, and I'd be like, these people just are like, they want to balance grace with law. And that was always the trigger words. Well, they're just trying to balance grace with law. But we're hyper grace. We're all in the grace of God. It changes our life. It makes you more like him, etc. But like the truth is, over the long term, and you see the way this fruit plays out in people's lives, the majority of those people don't stick with the Lord. And yeah, the preachers do, the top guys do, those guys do, but like, because they have a biblical enough foundation. And actually for me, that was like, I grew up underneath like biblical foundation because my dad was a pastor. It's like, I was not clueless to like the things of God. I had enough foundation to keep me solid, but like other people, they didn't. So they read my book and just go off. And I'm like, that is not the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, but through that process, God was just doing, and actually meeting you, like, because you like, well, tell us about your Christian background and like your family's ministry background and kind of like, just so we can connect.
Yeah.
that.
I grew up, my grandpa was a pastor. My dad started a ministry. My dad was always like working at the church with my grandpa. And then after that was, always on staff at a church, always working, started his own ministry.
How about Davey and your dad's ministry with Davey? Okay.
Yeah. My brother was born with Down syndrome. So my dad was already in ministry, working for the church. And whenever that happened, it kind of changed the way they did life. He's my older brother. So he was, a year older than me. So, once he started to get older, they realized there wasn't really a place for him in the church, because it wasn't just the like fun, happy kids with Down syndrome that you see all the time. He has like very severe Down syndrome, so he doesn't talk. He doesn't like use the bathroom on his own. He doesn't feed himself, or he can feed himself, but he doesn't like get his food ready. Like he has to be cared for 24/7. So anyways, we would go to church and he would literally, I'm not kidding you, if there was somebody sitting in front of us, he would pull their hair. If there was there was like old ladies in front of us and he would just yank their hair. And he would like let out these yells. You've heard them because he still does it at the house all the time. He like lets out.
He did it
these
in the car
yells.
when I picked up your dad and Davey the other day.
Yeah, he still does it.
I was on the phone with an agent, and then Davey goes, "Ah!"
Well, that's what he's always done, and that's what he did no matter where he was. So whenever we were in church, which my parents have been in church forever, but then all of a sudden they didn't have a place.
Mhm.
They didn't feel welcome because their son didn't feel welcome. And so that really, but instead of leaving the church, it sparked something in them to start a ministry for kids and adults, because it's the adults that are sometimes like forgotten about and left out.
The
Kids,
adults with Down syndrome.
Adults with Down
Makes a lot
syndrome,
of
adults with any kind of disability. It's
Yeah.
like when they're a kid, it's like, oh, they're cute, they're this, but they get older,
Yeah.
you know, and then they don't have that same people
Attention
caring
or
for
care,
them,
yeah.
and that same like compassion for them. So anyways, my dad started a ministry called The Ark, which was for kids and adults with Down syndrome. We met on Sunday mornings, basically like instead of children's church, they would have like big church, and there was children's church, and then there was The Ark, and they would have like, they would bus people in like from these homes.
Your dad made this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they would have people who like live in homes
Mhm.
for people with disabilities. They would like bus them into church.
Wow.
And then people would find out about it who had like kids, and they would bring their kids there. And so they would do like super like fun songs, just like more interactive.
Yeah.
And but it was more just like you can just be whoever you are.
Wow.
And so if my brother was going to like yell in the middle of it, it was no big deal because there was somebody else over there like yelling too.
How did that like impact your, well, I mean, I could probably answer this for you just because I've seen you, but like you're a very compassionate person. You very, you notice when people are hurting, or like you notice people with needs. How do you feel like that connects to how you grew up with your brother?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's my older brother. So I never knew like a life without that, you know?
Mhm.
Like I think about my mom, she was 27 when she had him. So she had like a normal life. And then all of a sudden she has a child with Down syndrome. And then she has for, you know, the past like 38 years.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like my life. It wasn't anything like that. I don't know. There wasn't like a change in my life. It was always there. But I do feel like I'm definitely aware, like you said, I'm very aware of people who maybe don't fit in or are having a hard time, and definitely like have a heart for those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother
That's
story
all-
too. Like growing
Yeah.
up like that will make me like cry talking about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like so many different parts of my life and my worldview because of that. Like even like the way I like view God and why that happened and all that kind of stuff was like something I had to like work through too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really intense. It's really intense. Yeah, and I mean, it's like obviously meeting me. I mean, I was in like the, you know, like literally I did healing meetings.
Yeah, and that maybe triggers me or triggered me.
Yeah.
Cry.
That's okay. I mean, we're talking about it. We're just talking about it. Yeah, go. Yeah. Talk
This is
about
not
it.
how I wanted the first episode to go. I didn't want to be crying.
Well, I mean, hey.
You started with emo.
Hey, come on. Emo. Let's go.
But yeah, it was.
Let's turn on some.
I
like,
liked you.
Let's turn on some emo music for this. Actually,
Keep on some Death Cab for Cutie, please.
you
in
know,
the
our
background.
emo is different. Like because you were 2005,
Mhm.
6 emo. I was 1999 emo, like music, like.
Which is who?
Well, like what is
I
that?
like Death Cab.
Like, So our difference
Bright
in age
Eyes.
is very Bright Eyes.
yeah.
No, I don't even. So like no, Copeland.
Oh yeah, no,
Old
I like Copeland
old
too.
Copeland,
I like
like
Copeland
come
too.
back from
Yeah.
California. All of us here in Georgia are starved for your attention.
Yes.
Like you listen to that?
Yes.
You know that?
I do.
You were just 5.
No, I wasn't. I remember that. That was when I was in college.
I was like already a grown man. I basically robbed the cradle. All right, so tell us more about that though, because you liked me, but
I liked you. I mean, there was nothing about you that I was like, oh, I can't be with him because of this. But yeah, you were very into like healing meetings, and I was very like brought up praying every single night for my brother to like talk.
Yeah.
And he never did.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, I don't love the.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going through it.
I know. I just don't want to cry.
It's good to cry. It's good. Yeah. So
I'm an ugly crier.
I mean, there's no answer like in this. I mean, it's so interesting. And God like does these things. I don't know, like let's talk about this.
Well, it's hard because, I mean, like I said, my parents grew up in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a pastor. My grandpa was a pastor. My uncle was a pastor. Like all of this, and like literally devoted their lives to the Lord's work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom is like 27 and has like, my parents didn't even know what Down syndrome was when my brother was born.
Yeah.
You know, so they didn't even know. They're like, wait, what do you mean? What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, you know? So just seeing them go through that. And they were definitely like, because we were part of the church, like bringing my brother up to the, to the altar, every call, going to like tent revivals, like everyone in the family laying hands on him.
Yeah.
Our family night prayers, like praying for my brother, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
So it's just, so it was hard for me to just like, go somewhere and then see somebody like having a hurt arm, or even like, it's just harder for me to believe it.
If somebody has a headache.
Somebody's like, I have a headache, and they're like, do you feel better now? They're praying for you. And you're like, not yet. I'm like, okay, do you feel better now? Are you better yet? Do you feel better now? And it's like, well, yeah, they got to go home.
I'm like, we got a miracle. Hallelujah. Get this man his keys.
I'm like, he's hungry. He
But well, this is interesting because, you know, we've had our greatest talks. Now that we got 3 kids, and they, you know, there's memes about kids that like you're trying to have a talk and kid talks. You know, I saw a funny meme about that the other day. But like, we don't ever talk. It feels like
this is the first time we've talked in years. This is great.
I mean, since 5 years. But our best talks are on the road somewhere.
It's true, when we're traveling.
You know, even in the business with our agency, we like go and you come with me a lot. We'll just bring the kids and they'll sleep in the car. They'll fall asleep and then we can talk.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I feel like we were just talking about this the other night about a good friend of mine that had like terrible vision and like the thickest glasses I've ever seen in my life, and literally stood up for prayer multiple times. And then one time he stood up for prayer and then he could see like 20/20 vision. And you were like, did you like how? And now, you know, I don't even know like exactly where his faith level's at even at this point, because that was years ago. But like things like that, when it happens, what is your like feeling or like thoughts? Like what is like?
I don't know. There would be a time where it would be like maybe jealousy, you know, maybe just like why, especially whenever you see somebody and you're just like, I know who my parents are. Like, I know what they've done. I know
her parents are like gold. I mean,
yeah. So I'm like, why not them? You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes it would be like either hard to believe, because I'm like, if God did that, he would do that for my family, you know? Or I would be like,
but if it was,
I wouldn't believe it,
and you believed it, and you're like,
then I would just be like, probably jealous. Like, that's not really fair.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, you know, I'd be like,
totally.
That's not really fair.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, actually, I remember years ago, I had, I got really into Todd White, and I'd be going around and like praying for people on the streets. And, I saw some pretty cool stuff happen, but I never saw anybody get out of a wheelchair. Saw people take off like those boots, you know, and like all of a sudden be like walking around and being like, but I remember during that same time, one of my good friends, Kyle, he had a baby, his first baby, Kyle Maria, and she had Down syndrome. And I remember Kyle and I had like really intense clash at the time, just in our friendship, because he was like, you are just gonna like pray for my daughter all the time and want her to be healed. And like, yeah, I want her to be healed, but like, you know, like just this kind of intense thing. And I was like, no, I'm not, but I will pray for her if you want me to. But like, I also don't even know if I have faith to see that. You know what I mean? There's so many times like I'm like, I don't even know if I have faith to see like the most extreme miracle. Like, and maybe this is right and maybe it's wrong. I don't know. But like a headache, sometimes it's easy to believe for like a headache to the point where it's like, maybe that wasn't even God. Maybe it just like went away because it's going to go away eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a hurt foot, you know, but like if somebody's dead, I don't know if I have faith to pick them up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which we made an agreement though. If something happens to me,
I'll raise you.
You will
pray. See, that's the kind
see,
this woman
I do believe.
She is a woman of faith. She believes I can raise her from the dead. I hope God's not going to test us on that. But that was that because we're talking about Smith Wigglesworth and the time his wife died and he raised her 3 times from the dead.
Yeah, that is
and the last
insane.
time she was like, don't raise me from the dead.
She's like, I'm going.
Like, I want to go home.
I'm done with this.
but anyway, yeah, it's like God brings, you know, I think it's so interesting that like even the way God brought us together on that, because I definitely can believe really intense about it, but I also like, you know, like I know Davey, I love Davey and I would love for him to talk. And I have prayed for him before. I don't know what my faith level's like. I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I have no idea, but I also trust God in the midst of it. And if like, he's going to heal somebody over here and he doesn't do it over here, I don't know. Tell him about, I told you about that dream I had. I've had like 2 or 3 dreams about Davey though.
Yeah.
Like
well, you know better than I. You tell the
one. I had a dream. So Davey is like just a couple years younger than me, right? And I mean, Davey is like, he's a big dude and he's funny, but he'll also like, and he's strong.
He's very strong, and he will just grab you out of nowhere. You'll be sitting here, and he'll just like grab your arm.
Yeah, you have to like watch out because he'll just be sitting there, and he'll be like kind of looking at a tennis ball or something.
If you were sitting near him, you are always on guard.
Oh, this is what he does. He like looks at a tennis ball, puts it in a cup, plays with it, and then he goes. His eyes, they just kind of move, and you're like, and like I will not be too close to Davey because I'll go up and be like, hey, buddy, how you doing? But like, it's like quick because I know at any moment he could and just like grab
He's a pincher.
Yeah, he's a pincher. but anyway, like, so he doesn't talk. He doesn't really make eye contact. Like, he'll laugh sometimes though, which is like awesome when he does that. But I had a dream one time, this was a couple of years back, in heaven. I'm in heaven. And it's not like I have a ton of dreams in heaven, but I mean, this was a dream. I was in heaven. It was like on the other side. And Davey is up there talking to me, just like, we're just having the greatest conversation, laughing, and he's just telling me all this stuff. And I was just like, I woke up going, oh my gosh, I feel like I met Davey. And it wasn't like a different Davey. It was Davey, but he was talking fully healed, fully like, you know what I mean? And then I had another one actually not too long ago with Davey. And he was like, it was at your parents' house. And in my dream, he was running around just playing, but he was like, totally healed, and he was like playing. He was like, but he was still really rough in the dream. He was like literally pushed over the gate to like get in. I was trying to block him. He pushed over the gate and was running around. I was like, it was the same Davey, but he was like healed. And so those dreams are not to say like I know that he's gonna get healed. I don't know. I just know that eternity is what's more valuable than the temporal, and that God is working something in you. And I watched your mom. I'm like, I've literally thought so many times, I'm like, your mom is like going to have such a huge crown in heaven because of the way. Because of the way that she's responded, you know, to the Lord in all this. And I mean, it's been 35 years. You know,
38.
And that wasn't her dream, that she thought that's what she could do, but she, you know, anyway. I think that's episode 1, guys. But this is us, and we're gonna have a lot of great episodes. We're gonna have a lot of great talks, and hope you guys subscribe. Okay, click the subscribe button. And share this with anybody you think it'll be helpful for. We're going to talk about all this stuff: life, God, theology, business. We're going to get into some business talk soon, but just subscribe and follow us. We're looking forward to sharing our life with you guys. So until next time.
Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win. Wake up and win.